Before I get into this commentary, I have to give a shout out to Professor Black Truth because he's the first person I actually heard really talk about this. And if you're not subscribed, first off, if you're subscribed to me, you should be, or you better be subscribed to him. Like, that's pretty much default settings. So we are talking about Miya Ponsetto. It's been a while since we last talked about it. As a matter of fact, I think it was a couple months ago since we last talked about it. And I swear this woman wears white privilege like it's a badge of honor. So the recent update that has come down with her is that she has pled guilty to a hate crime in which she, when she attacked that then 14-year-old black boy inside of that hotel because of her assumption that he had stole her iPhone when the whole time it was in her Uber. And this woman just leads a life of crime. Like Professor Black Truth said in his commentary, he said that she does crime from coast to coast. She's like a bi-coastal criminal, if you want to put it that way, because she has criminality in New York and in California, which is where she's from. Honestly, everything that she's done up until this point, she should have been in jail, but she continually gets to skate on by, literally, because of who she is. Remember, she referred to herself as a girl, and she's a whole grown woman. Now, mentally, she probably is a little girl because of how she acts. But in age, she's definitely an adult. But anyway, she pled guilty to, the hate crime, but she's not getting any type of extra punishment. Like, she's not going to be in prison. They're basically treating it as if what she did was a misdemeanor. And from what I gather, she can hold on to this guilty plea for like 2 years, I believe. And then she can plead to a lesser charge of a misdemeanor after the 2 years is up, as long as she meets the requirements. Like, they literally are giving this woman slaps on the front of her hand and the back of her hand and little taps on the ass and send her on her way. But I'm going to go ahead and get into this article. The California woman who gained national notoriety for wrongly accusing a black teenager of stealing her cell phone and then attacking him at a trendy Manhattan hotel, earning her the nickname Soho Karen, avoided being thrown in prison after striking a deal with prosecutors. Miya Ponsetto, age 23, from Simi Valley, agreed to plead guilty to a hate crime for the December 2020 incident at the Arlo Hotel in exchange for 2 years probation. Now listen to that. She pled guilty to a hate crime, and her punishment is 2 years probation. I bet you if she attacked an Asian boy, there would be no probation. Probation wouldn't even be an option. Prison would be the option, and probably the only option, and maybe a fine attached to it. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg said Monday, and I'm going to get to Alvin Bragg in a second. Like I said, if you watch Professor Black Truth, you should be aware of who Alvin Bragg is. She accused 15-year-old Keyon Harrold Jr., the son of famed jazz trumpeter Keyon Harrold, of stealing her phone. She had in fact left it in her Uber. Ponsetto pled guilty to an unlawful imprisonment in the second degree as a hate crime, said Bragg, the progressive prosecutor who has been criticized for pursuing life sentences for felonies. She avoided jail but was sentenced to probation and will be required for 2 years to abide by the terms of her California probation stemming from a separate case. Now, here's the thing. This woman has had so many run-ins with the police in California, I have a feeling she might actually break her probation. But what's the point? She'll probably find a way to slide right out of it. She must also continue counseling and avoid committing further crimes. If she complies, she will, after 2 years, have her charges reduced from felony to aggravated harassment in the second degree, a Class A misdemeanor. If not, she could be sentenced to 4 years in a state prison. Words and context matters. It says she could be sentenced, not that she would be, which means there's a possibility that she won't even get that if she breaks her probation. Nary, period. Ms. Ponsetto displayed outrageous behavior, said Bragg. As a black man, I have personally experienced racial profiling countless times in my life, and I sympathize with the young man victimized in this incident. Then why are you as a black man allowing this woman who reminds you so much of the racial profiling you allegedly faced in your life, that this black boy definitely faced in his young life, slide? You must not feel that bad. You don't empathize with the victim that bad then. You're just talking for the sake of talking, and I hate when people do that. This plea ensures appropriate accountability for Ms. Ponsetto. No, actually, it doesn't. This woman has never been held accountable for anything she's ever done and continues not to be because she's not being properly punished. By addressing underlying causes for her behavior and ensuring this conduct does not reoccur. It'll happen again. I'm almost certain of it. I have no faith that she will be on the straight and narrow. Ponsetto's attorney said on Monday he was grateful to brag. Miya Ponsetto has been leading an exemplary life since this incident with the young man close to a year and a half ago, said Paul D'Amelia. We are appreciative of the district attorney's thoughtful and empathetic approach to finding an acceptable conclusion, especially in light of the unreasonable pressure brought to bear by many voices not familiar with the regular granular details of what occurred that evening. Excuse me, Mr. Attorney. We all saw the video. We all saw the surveillance of this woman, your client, attacking this black boy over what she thought was a stolen iPhone, one that she accused him of stealing. Now, here it was in this hotel, a whole bunch of people of different backgrounds, mainly PC, walking around with iPhones. But the second that the young black boy comes off the elevator, she's like, that's him. That's the one who took my phone. Mind you, she was already in the hotel lobby. You can go back and look at it. She was already in the hotel lobby for a little bit before she saw the boy and his father come off the elevator. She immediately honed in on them because they were black. F this elf-eared bitch with her racist ass. Point blank, period. D'Amelia described the encounter as an unfortunate misunderstanding and said the misdemeanor harassment charge, to which she will plead if she stays out of trouble, more realistically reflects her actions that night at the Arlo Hotel. He added, it is Ms. Ponsetto's wish that Keyon Harrold accepts her regrets and apology, which I hope he or his father does not, for her behavior that evening, and that all involved can move forward, added insight and compassion. Keyon's concerned father, Grammy-winning African-American jazz artist Keyon Harrold told TMZ in March 2021 that he and the boy's mother, Kat Rodriguez, were forced to find a trauma therapist for their son following the attack, and they should have made her ass pay for it. He said his son has been left seriously traumatized and made to feel like a criminal, and is asking his parents, why me? Well, unfortunately, if his parents didn't tell him, I'll have to say it, even if they don't hear it. You are a young black boy in America, and this was your first wake-up call and brush with racism. I wish I could say that you won't face it again in your life, but I would probably be lying. Just being honest. Harrold said he has taught his son to have dignity and an ego as a young black man, but the assault has left Keyon racked with self-doubt. I have tried to instill dignity in my son. I'm trying to build his ego because for so long, egos of black men have been shattered. Now, check this out. This attack on this boy happened back in 2020, and they said back in 2021 they had to get him into some therapy. He is still traumatized by what happened that day, and we're talking about something that happened, like, I forgot when in 2020, but we're talking almost 2 years ago when it occurred, at least. And he's still traumatized by it, and she still feels nothing by it. No apology she could ever give is going to remove the stain that she put on this boy's life on that very day. He's going to forever be traumatized by it. Well, I'm not going to say forever traumatized by it, but it's going to be something that's going to live with him for a while, because especially since he's so young. He was only 14 at the time, so that means now he's about to turn 16, if he hasn't turned 16 already. Did the attorney for this chick take that into consideration? Probably not. Did Alvin Bragg take that into consideration? No, he didn't, because he gave her a very light sentencing of probation after she pleaded guilty to a hate crime. Keep in mind, a hate crime. I don't care how they try to spin it. When you are charged with a hate crime, you should be in jail awaiting your trial, not sitting outside and doing whatever it is that you want. This woman is literally going to go right back to California doing her own thing, unless they put an ankle monitor on her, which doesn't sound like they're going to do, because they don't mention anything about a house arrest. I'm telling you, she's going to slip up again. She is. because I believe she slipped up after this incident. She cannot stay out of trouble. This woman has priors before this incident and priors after it. But we'll see, because 2 years for her is probably a lifetime. So was it 2022, 2024? We'll see. He added that he often stays in hotels with his son because of his work as a musician, but Keyon is becoming fearful of going to hotels due to concerns that the same thing will happen again and someone will accuse him of a crime. He wonders if he's good enough to own an iPhone or whether he's out of place at a nice hotel. See the trauma that she caused? He's scared to even own a phone, an iPhone at that. He's scared to go to a nice hotel out of fear that he's going to run into another one of hers. But they don't take that in consideration. But then again, that goes back into what I talked about before, when black boys are very, very not protected in America. I mean, granted, you're going to have your family to protect you, as they should, but this traumatizing event has literally left a lasting, impactful effect on his mental. And that happened almost 2 years ago. And you know, everyone deals with traumatizing things different ways. So his traumatizing things are nice hotels and iPhones, because he got tackled at a nice hotel over an iPhone that this bitch thought he stole. The teen's family filed a civil lawsuit against Ponsetto in the hotel alleging racial profiling. The case is pending. The crazy thing about it is pending, and I bet you it would probably go through if she was to be found guilty or something. But the way it's looking right now, I don't know. The lawsuit lists Ponsetto as a defendant, as well as Arla Hotel, its owner company Quandrum Hospitality Group, hotel manager Chad Nathan, and others. The lawsuit alleges violation of New York City human rights law and New York state human rights law, and also accuses her of assault, battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, false imprisonment, negligence, and loss of service. The hotel and its management group are also accused of negligent hiring, with the lawsuit claiming Nathan had a history of racially prejudiced behavior and misconduct. The new civil suit dives into the altercation from the vantage point of the Harrold family. On the day after Christmas, Keyon Harrold and Keyon Harrold Jr. headed to a restaurant in the lobby of the Arlo Soho Hotel where they had been staying in order to have brunch. So this happened in December. As soon as they entered the lobby, they were suddenly confronted and racially profiled by defendants Chad Nathan and Miya Ponsetto. The lawsuit then accuses Ponsetto of chasing and tackling Harrold Jr. after she disregarded all of the other non-African American individuals in the lobby. Nathan allegedly helped detain Harrold Jr. while hotel security guards stood idly by. After the attack, Harrold, a Grammy-winning musician, called the police to report what had just occurred. As a result of defendants' actions, plaintiffs have suffered loss and injury, including but not limited to physical and emotional pain and suffering, great mental distress, shock, fright, economic loss, humiliation, embarrassment, emotional distress, feelings of racial stigmatization, an increased sense of vulnerability, and an unlawful deprivation of their protected rights to exercise and enjoy equal treatment. The lawsuit is seeking damages as well as attorney's fees and costs, but does not list a desired dollar amount. Ponsetto has a long history of run-ins with the law. On February 8, 2020, Ponsetto was charged with public intoxication after she, her mother, and another person were involved in a physical altercation at the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills. On May 29, 2020, and again on October 10, 2020, she was charged in Los Angeles with a DUI. Police were called last May after witnesses saw her leave a Malibu supermarket clearly intoxicated as she drove away in a vehicle. Officers responded to a 911 call, found her with open containers of alcohol and marijuana in the car. She was also charged with driving with a suspended license. In the October incident, police responded to a 911 call, found Ponsetto in a gas station parking lot again in a physical altercation with her mother. The car she had been driving was abandoned at a nearby intersection. As an officer tried to place her in cuffs, she resisted and he was seen wrestling her to the ground. "I'm not even touching you," she is heard shrieking. "You were asking for literally a lawsuit. I didn't do anything to you." She was also charged with driving with a suspended license and resisting arrest. In September 2020, a judge sentenced Ponsetto to summary probation for 3 years after she pleaded no contest to driving under the influence. By that, she broke her probation by getting into trouble, because last time I checked, when you are under a probationary period, you can't get into any type of criminality type trouble. And that's exactly what she did in December of that year with the hotel situation. And she continues to skate on by. That's why the law ain't shit. It really isn't. This woman broke her probation, and she still got more probation and not jail time. In January 2021, a California judge dropped a misdemeanor count of public intoxication against Ponsetto related to the February 2020 arrest at the Peninsula. How convenient. Her mother, Nicole Ponsetto, pleaded no contest to battery on a police officer and public intoxication in the same incident. She was sentenced to 100 hours of community service and entered a 12-month diversion program. Miya Ponsetto remained defiant after the attack at the hotel just months later, telling Gail the Gargantuan King in earlier 2021 that she only regretted making the boy feel inferior. She also denied that race played a role in the incident because she is a woman of color. Those are her words. I wasn't racially profiling whatsoever. I'm Puerto Rican, Ponsetto said. Guess what? You don't have to be quote unquote white in order for you to be racist. Clearly. I'm like a woman of color. I'm Italian, Greek, and Puerto Rican. Ponsetto did offer a roundabout apology to the boy, saying, I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart. She added, he's 14. That's what they're claiming. Yeah. So now, see, man, this is why many people were saying, I wish that the boy's mother would have had her alone in the room for a good 5 minutes. Did you hear that? Now she's questioning the boy's age. That's the same thing they did with Tamir Rice, 12 years old, and said that they thought he was 18. I'm 22. I've lived probably just the same amount of life as him. Like, honestly, I'm just as a kid at heart as he is. That's the part where I was talking about when she said that she referred to herself as a girl. And I remember she referred to him as a guy. She aged him to an adult and de-aged herself to a girl to make herself feel like she was more of a victim than she even clearly was not, and that he was the perpetrator. She's literally trying to make it seem like it's all on him when it's definitely all on her. Typical Karen behavior. I feel sorry that I made my family go through like all of that stress, but at the same time, it wasn't just them going through that. See what I mean? The narcissism that just oozes out of her is crazy. I don't feel like this one mistake does define me. I consider myself to be super sweet. I'm a 22-year-old girl. That's the part I was talking about. How is one girl accusing a guy, remember she refers to a 14-year-old boy as a guy, about a phone crime? The CBS sit-down was marked by Ponsetto wearing a black cap emblazoned with the word daddy, snapping at King and telling her, all right, Gail, enough, as she was pressed on the incident and told she was old enough to know better. In November 2021, Ponsetto asked about the Arlo Hotel incident, said, I just wish I had apologized differently. Ponsetto's attorney, Paul D'Amelia, informed the court during the November status hearing that she has been seeing a therapist and trying to schedule anger management classes. Something tells me she hasn't. Speaking to Daily Mail outside of the courtroom in November, D'Amelia said he believed his client was grossly overcharged. No, honestly, I think she was undercharged. She was charged with crimes that were greatly enhanced, if I could say that, he said. We don't feel those charges are appropriate, but hopefully there's something we can reach that will be satisfactory to everybody. So her attorney, hold on, let me pause this right quick. I had her attorney off to the side a little bit, but I got to bring him back into the fold. That's her attorney. That's Paul D'Amelia guy. He said that he didn't feel those charges were appropriate. Your client, again, accused this black boy of stealing her phone, ran after him, tackled him to the floor. We all saw it. It's on camera. So we're just not supposed to believe our eyes. Our eyes are lying to us, right? According to him. Man, I tell you, Ponsetto's actions inside the boutique hotel were filmed by Grammy-winning African-American jazz artist Keyon Harrold as he approached his son, Keyon Jr. In the recording, Ponsetto is seen pushing and grabbing at the father and son, allegedly even scratching Keyon Harrold Sr.'s hand as she attempted to snatch his cell phone, wrongly believing it to be hers. Ponsetto, who lives in Los Angeles, was initially charged with assault and was permitted to fly back to California on bail, where she remains. She was arraigned via video conference in June 2021 with 3 new counts: unlawful imprisonment as a hate crime, aggravated harassment, and endangering the welfare of a child. Ponsetto claimed in an interview she'd been stopping everyone in the hotel lobby during a search of her missing phones. Somehow I doubt that. I was approaching the people that had been exiting the hotel because in my mind, anybody exiting might be the one trying to steal my phone. My thing is this: if that were true, why didn't you tackle any one of them? Why did you tackle this black boy? If what you're saying is true. See, there's so many holes in her story. Her story got more holes in it than a poster at a gun range. Moments after the hotel scuffle, an Uber driver returned the missing phone to Ponsetto. Harrold and Keyon Jr.'s mother, Kat Rodriguez, staged a rally in Manhattan shortly after the incident alongside their attorney, Ben Crump, and the Reverend Al Sharpton. When I saw this story, I thought about how I was one of those kids whose father never took him anywhere for Christmas, never had brunch with my father, Sharpton said, of course. And for this black man to take his black son, put him in a hotel during a pandemic, and spend Christmas with him, raising him, and to be assaulted because of the color of their skin, I wanted to stand with this man and this woman who provided for their son, and they're being criminalized for it. The arrogance and audacity of this woman. It's so much wrong with this. I mean, from the top down and everywhere in between, Alvin Bragg ain't shit. She definitely isn't. Her attorney isn't either. But like I said, she's used to this. She gets off on this. This is entertainment for her. I bet this woman probably feels like she's Harley Quinn in her head. But this is her life. This is who she is. This is who she always has been and always will be. But I'm telling you right now, she's going to come across the wrong one or the right one day. And it's going to be curtains after that. They either going to beat the shit out of her or they going to take her out the union.